Currently, about 75% of the state's energy comes from fossil fuels. 15 Wisconsin youth are banding together to try to change that through a constitutional lawsuit. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson breaks down the case filed on Friday in Dane County Court.
From here in southeast Wisconsin to Wausau, La Crosse, and Minocqua, these Wisconsin youth, represented by Midwest environmental advocates and Our Children's Trust, are suing the Wisconsin State Legislature and the Public Service Commission over climate change.
Climate change is profoundly threatening.
Tony Wilken-Gabbard is the executive director of Midwest Environmental Advocates and an attorney on the case.
The state continuing to pump greenhouse gases into the atmosphere does violate our clients' rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The case is focused on the Public Service Commission, which determines if new power plants can be built in Wisconsin.
It actually has its hands tied by the state law.
Sarah Fox, an associate professor at Marquette Law School, explains right now, as long as Wisconsin gets at least 10% of its energy from renewable sources, then it is against state law for the Public Service Commission to even consider air pollution when approving new plants.
And it's something that needs to change.
And if the 10% is met, state law also prohibits the commission from requiring an increase in renewable energy production.
Wisconsin at the executive and legislative level has set a 100% renewable energy goal by 2050. And so those standards are clearly in tension with each other.
The Public Service Commission tells me they cannot comment on pending litigation, and the Midwest Environmental Advocates tell me they hope to bring this case to trial within a year. From the Wisconsin State Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.
In Montana, a similar lawsuit won. In 2020, 16 Montana kids sued the state, saying that certain provisions of the Montana's State Energy Act and the Montana Environmental Policy Act violated their rights. The state Supreme Court ruled 6-1 that it violated their constitutional rights.